to learn more about the costume design and what all the details in the process that goes into being able to pick the right costume for the right character, but also being able to match it with the tone and texture and the temperature of the production design.
I think it's really interesting to learn how wardrobe helps the story.
Costume designer for like thriller and stuff like that. So that's pretty awesome to me.
Welcome. We are going to be meeting with, hearing wonderful costume designer Deborah Nadoolman-Landis, who has a distinguished career that includes the classics such as Animal House, American Werewolf in London, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Keep your eyes shut!
She got an Academy Award nomination for Coming to America. Groundbreaking music video, Michael Jackson's Thriller. We all know Thriller. Miss Landis is a PhD in design from London Royal College of Art. She has many books to her credit. Hollywood Sketchbook, A Century of Costume Illustration, Filmcraft, Costume Design, and the award-winning 2012 catalog for the landmark exhibition Hollywood Costume, which she curated at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. So you guys, sit back, learn a lot. Costumes help make what you're doing real.
I really don't talk about my work that much. I don't use my work when I'm teaching. Someone once told me, can you all hear me? So I might as well tell. Yeah, someone once told me when I started teaching, don't be anecdotal. Don't talk about don't tell stories, Really talk about what you know instead of what you've done. And I find that maybe it's because I got my PhD. To get your PhD is a very luxurious thing. I got it when I started when I was 45. And I got to look at my work and the work of my colleagues in a submolecular level. So I went all the way down. And I let a lot of the other stuff go. I wasn't the type of person who would talk about celebrity anyway. It doesn't interest me. Maybe you can tell. But I will talk about celebrity if you need me to. But I can go there. But I really want to talk about what we're trying to do together.
Well, my first question is actually, how did you get to wanting to become even a costume designer? It's not like people are exposed to it every day. You look at a movie and even you sometimes as a spectator don't even see, that they all wore the same kind of clothes and so on and so forth. So certainly when people go to the movies, they talk about actors, they talk about the action, they talk, so how did you even get to that field?
Well, I grew up in Washington Heights, and thank you, and there's one out there. I grew up in Washington Heights, and my parents we didn't have any books in the house, but we had a library on 177th Street. We had a Carnegie Library, and I just started to read as a little girl. I always loved being in plays. I loved stories. I went to camp in the summer. My parents had a camp for deaf children. My mother was a teacher of the deaf. And so my parents ran a camp for deaf children, and I was in the cabins with the deaf children. We put on plays. And my parents didn't let me go to the movies. It was funny. I went to the movies when I visited my grandmother. But no, I think I was born this way.
Yeah.
I was born this way because I was born loving stories. I also, I would be lying if I would say that I didn't like to make things. I can make anything.
Really?
With a glue gun. With a glue gun, and I can make anything. So you can lock the doors. That would be good. if you could challenge me, you know. I can't believe I said that, but I can make anything. So I believe I can make anything anyway. And so I was very good at making stuff from the time I was very, very small. And anything out of a sheet, a towel, found objects. When you see me looking at people, I mean, I can do anything with a shoelace. You know, I just love the challenge. And if you think about that, I love to make things and that I love stories.
Right.
I never wanted to be an actor. So what's left?
Right.
I got to make movies, right? Or
Yeah.
make theater. So, and I never wanted to be a fashion designer. I mean, that's, Tova, that's something that people have asked me. So,
Right.
so now you're not working on movies. Do you want to design a line? Not really. Yeah, I don't want to have to worry about what you want to buy at Zara or at H&M. You know, I don't want to, those people, they have a real, that's hellish, that job.
Yeah.
No, I think I was always, I can't remember when I didn't want to make or work in dress up and costumes in a show. From the time, I went to PS 189, and from the time, George Washington High School, by the way, just so we close that circle. So, I just feel like from the time ever I was doing that. Yeah.
You really created really iconic clothes, okay? From Animal House, the toga, Michael Jackson red jacket, which apparently was sold for so much money, what, $1.3 million or something to some collector?
That's right. It was $1.3 million, and but there were two. One's in the zombie jacket is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, and then Michael's own jacket was sold.
I see.
Yeah.
How did you come up, what was behind, for example, choosing the red jacket?
I didn't choose it. I designed it. Yeah, I didn't choose it. No, it's true. I mean, you don't. I designed it.
Okay, and what was the thinking behind it?
Okay, so all design is reductive, and what that means is that your choices are most often what it can't be, right? What it can't be. So that won't work, right? So how many times have you said that won't work? So what else do you have?
Right.
So with Thriller, my husband John Landis wrote the screenplay, and we made it just like we made a movie, like a 15-minute movie. And it was going to play theatrically. In fact, it did play theatrically. It came out with Fantasia. They were doing a re-release of Fantasia in 1983. And so we made Thriller to come out with Fantasia. It sounds bizarre, but that's what we did. And so it was a short, theatrical short. And we had everybody, I don't mean to make it too long, but you'll see where I'm going with this.
I want to go with her.
No, it's not going to be too long. So anyway, everybody who worked on An American Werewolf in London, the cinematographer and the production designer and me and Rick Baker, who did the makeups. So everybody who worked on An American Werewolf in London, which we had made which came out in 81, worked on Thriller. Because it was essentially Michael becoming a werewolf and then Michael turning into a zombie. And so we made it like we would make a movie.
Right.
So you know how to make a movie, Tova. I got the script.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Billie Jean, you know, it was a movie. And I got the screenplay, I broke down the screenplay, I went to dance rehearsals, fantastic dance rehearsals you can only imagine. And when I was at the dance rehearsals and really understood, after talking to John, and really understood that we were going to shoot 4 days of nights, and we're going to shoot downtown LA in a dark alley. All the zombies were going to be in zombie rags, you know, create the zombie rags. What were my choices for Michael? You know, was I going to put Michael in all black? It was never going to happen. So I placed everybody in a ridiculous way. But when you're working and placing people, obviously you're not going to place them this way. Because to all of us sitting, not so much to the people sitting down, but we recognize this as false. When you walked in the room, everyone sat down in a random pattern. But in movies, nothing is random. Everything in the frame is designed to tell one story, your story. Every single thing, even the placement of the actors in the frame. Imagine if someone here had to give important dialogue with this kind of lighting, where would my eye fall? How would it be? How would it work? Whereas if I put you in the center of any of these people, you would clearly be the most important person in the room. Everybody understand? I think it's an easy lesson. Thank you very much. Everybody sit down. You saw what happened. Yeah. Could I put Michael in all white? No way. I mean, you saw what was going to happen. And then I started thinking about color. And so it was already reductive. I couldn't be white, couldn't be black. What is the feeling for blue? What does blue mean? What does green mean? What about yellow, orange? No, it's got to be red. It's got to be red. I mean, really think about that triangle. Think about the dance number. Think about him in the front, and then all of the other things, which are natural design, which is that Michael wasn't 5'8". Maybe he was 5'7" and change, and he was about 99 pounds, wet, 27-inch waist. Maybe a 29 inseam. So you had a very tiny person, a small person, a genius. And so I thought about the screenplay. John wanted Ola Ray, who was the girl dancing around him. She was a playmate, very good-looking girl and lovely. And so John, in conversations with me, and I took your question seriously, you can see, he wanted this sexual interplay, this flirting between the two of them. So it was really also up to me, up to Michael always, but up to me too, to build up Michael's body, to make him look like there was something there, right? So I thought, okay, so by putting him in red jeans, I was going to verticalize him, make him red on the bottom, red on the top. And then Michael really loved to wear white socks and soft black loafers. And he loved to dance in these things. And I'm going to say this out loud, and it's all available on the internet, I suppose, but it's good to hear it from me too, which is he learned that from Fred Astaire.
There you go.
That's what Fred Astaire wore in Funny Face, and Fred Astaire loved to wear these soft black loafers with the white socks, and he told Michael that if you wear white socks, everyone will always watch your feet, right? They'll always see your feet with those white socks. So, got the loafers, and when I talked to Michael, I said, look, I'd prefer if we didn't do no buckles. We're not going to do any hardware on this thing at all. And of course, it was the 80s, so I had license for shoulder pads. Right. And now, Tova, when I look at that jacket, I think, God, that looks like Wolverine. Because Wolverine, I mean, it's true, but I guess I came first. It's because I was trying to create a superhero body. That's where that V comes from. Just that, to create those shoulders. Right. And so I told you about the red. What could it be when you really think about it? I told you about lengthening him. I told you about building a masculine body, like a superhero body. So it all makes sense, right? Right. And I padded him up, and I designed that jacket, and I brought it to a leather manufacturer. We made it up, and that's the story.
Unbelievable. Yeah, this is how you create an iconic thing.
But it's not deliberately.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't, no, you know what, I don't think so. I think the audience I don't think it. I believe that the audience creates the icons. We don't do it. We do the same job all the time. I was just doing my job. I was doing the best job I could, right? And unfortunately, like all of us, in your long lives as filmmakers, you will make, I hope you make classics, and you'll make flops. That's got to be. Somebody's got to make them. So you're going to make flops. I've made flops. And you're going to make great movies. And you're going to make movies that suck. And sometimes you don't know until the end, right? Right?
But I have to say that I'm getting a little personal now because you and John together did some really iconic movies. I mean, you look now at Animal House, it's still as funny as it was when it first came out.
Yeah, it's
You look
looking
at
a little
Trading,
old.
you look at what?
I'm looking a little old, Animal House. I mean, there are so many more outrageous things now.
No, it is still so funny. I mean, you look at Trading Places, and it's like, I think it's the funniest Eddie Murphy movie. Thriller, you look at it, it's still thrilling. I mean, this is what makes movies iconic, because they really haven't lost anything, and in fact gained something even when time goes by. So what I want to ask is, here you were, you graduated UCLA, you had an MA in costume designer, and you met this guy who's a high school dropout.
I met him before, actually.
Before he even dropped out of high school?
No, I met him before I went to UCLA.
Oh, I see.
Oh, yeah. I met John when I was 18,
I see.
and he was 19 and a half.
And why did he drop out of high school?
He was expelled. My husband was expelled from high school. He's a bad example.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He came here, he did a Q&A, and every other word.
Not as bad as Guillermo del Toro. Not as bad as Guillermo. If you
Really?
ever have Guillermo. Yeah.
Really? Anyway, so a good girl like you just hooked up with this guy. What did you see in him creatively? I'm not talking about personal, creatively, right?
Okay, my husband, I met my husband when I was 18, and I was in college on the East Coast, and he was actually, he was on his way to Europe to work on a movie called Kelly's Heroes.
Okay.
So my husband has a very unusual CV, because he was expelled in the 10th grade, and then when he turned 16, he became a mail boy at 20th Century Fox. So he was a mail boy at 20th Century Fox for years, from 1966 to 1968, 69, and really worked on a million different movies, and then went to Almeria, Spain, and worked as a stuntman. And
So it took,
but he's brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, he's way brilliant. And I met him because my first boyfriend in college dumped me and said, "Why don't you go to Los Angeles and meet my high school friend, John Landis?" And I did. And I came out and I took the train from Montreal to Vancouver, and I hitchhiked with a girlfriend from Vancouver to Los Angeles. That's far. But that was then.
yes.
Right? And we hitchhiked. I looked different then. And then I met John Landis, and we became good friends. And then when I came out to go and get my MFA, we got together. And this year, I turned 63, and John turned 65, and we'll be together 40 years. Wow. 40 years. It's not easy. It is not easy, and it is not easy to survive the success. The success is what'll kill you. But if you survive the success, you're all right.
How about that? Incredible.
Yeah.
And next we're going to interview your son, Max, who's already writing screenplays. He's got 4 movies that are coming out just
Hey,
this
listen. Hey, listen. My son. Okay, you ready to write something down? Okay, my son has a movie on YouTube. It was free for him to make, 20-minute movie. Wrestling isn't wrestling. Wrestling isn't wrestling.
Wrestling
YouTube.
isn't wrestling.
It's a love letter to the WME. My son loves wrestling. So it's called Wrestling Isn't Wrestling. It's absolutely wonderful. I think it already has 1 million views or 2 million views or something. Anyway, I have this very, very wild son who has a high school diploma. My son has a high school diploma. That's why I had to get a PhD. Yeah, my men, not so good, not so good. Not so good with school. Yeah, they're not good. The girls are good in the family for school. The boys, not so good, yeah.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Then I want to open to the student because it's really up for them. But I want to ask you something. When you did the demonstration, the white, the black, the neutral, the color,
Yeah.
and it seemed that the white ones, really stood out. Even, let's say, from the colors, because they were first and there were the colors and so on and so forth. But if you have characters that you want to dress in colorful thing because they either bohemian or artistic,
For any
and
reason. For any reason.
For any reason, do you eliminate the whites? Do you?
Well, I wouldn't use white at all. I wouldn't use white at all. In fact, I wouldn't use white or black if I were you. Why use white or black? The black just creates a hole in the frame, and you just have a face, if you have to.
Unless you want to blend in the crowd like Matt Damon.
But he was actually more like our atmosphere.
Yes.
He was really in like a charcoal gray.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, there's what's the show with Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright? House of Cards. Yeah, House of Cards has a very, very tight color palette, and that's also like Fincher. And they stay in the middle range the whole time, but they're running a very tight palette and a very tight frame. So everything in the frame, including, I don't know if you'd have these very hot yellow chairs, right?
Yeah.
So everything in the frame, these chairs would be black, and then it would be easier to see us without having this punch out. So I think you just have to be careful, and I would just eliminate all white and black and just stay in middle range, and I think you'll be good. Yeah.
Terrific. Guys, you want to ask questions?
Anybody have a question?
Anybody?
Do you have any general advice about kind of like medieval fantasy costumes?
Well, I think you can make up whatever you want. But it's helpful to root. I said I like Marco Polo. I don't love Marco Polo, but I watch Marco Polo, and I love epics. So I think with medieval fantasy, know what it is. You have to do research for everything, and you should embrace it. When I had our 4 friends up here, your 4 teammates up here, what's your, where?
South.
What's the name of the town?
Skanör.
And what was your home address?
Kråkbergsvägen 8.
And what about your Yankees?
This hat, I've had it for probably over 5 years. I bought this hat with my brothers in Yonkers.
What about your sweater?
Black Friday as well.
Okay, Armani Exchange. So you got a big discount on that. That was research. That's real research, the kind that counts.
Right.
So do the research, pick the stuff that you like, circle it up, and use it. And depending on, the difficult part is not to be, if it's serious, is this a drama?
More like family show, kind of.
It's a medieval family show? Mm-hmm. That's hilarious. Yeah, here's a tip. Don't use any trim.
Don't use any trim?
Trim.
Okay.
Yeah, don't be, I always say I love trim, but I'm not an upholsterer.
So like the gray on this, for example?
Don't trim anything up.
Okay.
Don't trim anything up. I mean, if you want to see what not to do, go to a Renaissance fair.
Really?
Right? Yeah, just don't make it goofy looking.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, try to avoid the goofy and keep your colors like middle range colors and don't use trim.
What about green?
Says the designer of the Three Amigos. Yes.
What about green?
What?
What about green?
I love green.
Okay.
I bet if they're in the forest, they're going to get lost. Okay, good luck.
Hello.
Yes. Hi.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
As an actor, I often have struggle knowing how to begin to build a character. So where do I start?
Okay. And what's the second question?
Where did you buy that blazer?
We'll have to look in the back. You'll look after I answer the first question. So, so performance is more important than costume. And if we're going to be serious about our work, and I really don't want to really be schmaltzy, but we're all, oh God, I'm going to be schmaltzy. We're all looking for the truth, right? Because we have the jury, and the jury has a bullshit meter, right? So the bullshit, they can sense the bullshit. They have like a sixth sense for the bullshit. So we're always trying to get to the heart of the matter. And I think that it is a true collaboration in that we're all reading the same screenplay. So you know that if you have the same screenplay and 5 different directors, you're going to have 5 different movies, but completely different movies. Yeah, I mean, you add Tim Burton to that mix or Wes Anderson to that mix, forget about it. It's just a different movie. So you're going to, first of all, you have the screenplay, and the screenplay has clues, but then you have to have the conversation with the director, and not just one. And a lot of conversation with the director because you're seeking the who. Who is it? Who is it, right? And then a lot happens in the fitting room, or can happen in the fitting room. And of course, actors are very vulnerable and can be fragile. So you have to be open. Remember, it's not about you, it's about who it is. And actors have to be so many people in their career. And I have heard Meryl Streep talk about this, where she talks about how when she's in the fitting room with her costume designer, they wait for the third person to appear, right? Third person is that new person. And you get a sense of it, but you have to be free of who you are and be ready for that other person, because you're a cipher. You need to be filled up with this other person. And I think it is a process. And what we have going on now in our work, and that I hear from my friends, is very often they don't see an actor until 24 hours before that actor works. That's the hard part. So I think now working, if you can work in the theater, even better, start in the theater. The theater is the mother. And you have to, and the more you can work in the theater, the more you rehearse, I think you need time to develop that other person. Would you answer any differently?
No, I would say exactly the same thing.
My advice would be, go thee to the theater. Theater, always. Thanks.
Thank you. Although when
okay,
it's
look in the back. I don't remember. Where did I get it? What does this say?
Search for sanity.
Okay, my label said search for sanity. There you go. Don't remember.
But just to talk about clothes.
But that's a perfect label for me. Yeah.
Like when Richard Dreyfuss was here, he says that sometimes when he works on a character, and especially if it's a true story, let's say.
Yes.
He sees like the clothes are here, and he steps into the clothes of that person, and it helps him to become a person. And when Pacino was here, it was about The Godfather, because when I met him on The Godfather thing, you know, a young guy was coming flopping around, and I said, who is this guy? And they said, Pacino. I said, that's not Pacino, because I knew him from Corleone. This is on the second one. And he said he felt the same way. He would like flopping around, and then slowly he get into the makeup and into the costume, and every time he discovered more and more, you know, it become that character. So
well,
clothes help a
you heard Sandy start talking about Daniel Day-Lewis. And there are people like Daniel Day-Lewis, like Robert De Niro, who always ask for their shoes 2, 3, 4, as early as they can get their shoes, as early as they can get their clothes, and they wear their clothes. It happens very frequently. Some actors really like to have those clothes to wear. Yes.
Hi. You've talked about how making sure your characters don't blend in with the background. What if you have a situation where they're in uniform, like they're in a school or they're in prison? How do you keep your characters from completely disappearing into mass crowds?
That's all how it's shot and blocked.
Oh, okay.
That's shot and blocked, yeah. Everybody wears the same thing. It's up to the director to put that actor in the center of the frame. Yeah. You can watch the backgrounds, though. You know, it's up to the director to place everybody in the frame, and a costume designer, a good costume designer, if the costume designer's on the set, a costume designer can work with a second to place actors in the frame, place background in the frame, to make sure that nobody is pulling a frame from the principal. So everybody should be looking. Everybody behind camera should be looking at the people in the frame and be seeing if the eye is being pulled at all. And that's a conversation. Don't necessarily bother the director with it, but you can talk to the second about it, second or the first.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Hi, I have way too many questions, but I'll try to stick with a genre about your educational background.
Okay.
Very interested. You said you have a PhD.
I do.
Where does one get a PhD in costume design?
Well, okay, so what happened to me was that I had a career, a major career in costume design for the movies. I was the first designer of Indiana Jones. I read the screenplay and I highlighted the screenplay, and then it was the second movie that I designed for Steve Spielberg. And before that, I had worked in the theater, and I continue to work in the theater. I mean, I worked at the I've designed shows at the Taper and at the ACT in San Francisco, and I love the theater. And I've designed for the opera too. So I have to say that what happened to me was I chose. I have a long marriage. I'm devoted to my husband. I have 2 fabulous kids. My son was a lot of trouble, and it worked out okay. And I just love my kids, and I just couldn't go on location. So I got kind of stuck, and I have a lot of energy. And what happened to me was at about 45, I decided to, and what am I going to do? Should I go to law school? What should I do? And I thought, I could really start writing about my field in a way that I could make a contribution. So I graduated with my PhD at 50, right? At 50. And then I became president of my local. I'm very much about the union. I'm very much about the IA. So I'm a professional, so I was in my union in negotiations and all of that, and I learned all about that, and did that for 2 terms, and then I'm
the board of governor. And
yes, I'm the whole package. I'm a governor of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and no, I'm fancy. I'm so fancy.
Do you have books?
I have 6 books, and in fact, I brought a book with me. This one's pretty interesting. Do you know this group of books? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this group of books is pretty interesting. It's called Filmcraft. It's Filmcraft, and it's a series, and the series includes a book on directing, editing, cinematography, and I know there's one coming out on music, and it's 15 interviews with masters. So if you get the directing one, it has 15 interviews with directors. This one has 15 interviews with costume designers all working today, and we use it at school as a text. So yeah, I wrote a lot of books. So you can get, if you wanted to get a PhD in costume design, you could come to UCLA and get one with me. So that would be my answer. So come on over.
Hiya.
Hi.
I was wondering, what is the most difficult experience you've had designing or helping to create a character or person?
My most difficult. You know, my most challenging film, but also the film that in the end, I felt like I overcame it, was Coming to America. Because it's pretty tricky being a white designer on a kind of an all-black movie. And I was kept up a lot of nights because I wanted to just get it right and be respectful. So that was a big challenge and really difficult design challenge. I think that was the most difficult, easy movie to work on, but a very difficult when you think about my position and what I had to do in terms of creating like an African Cinderella. I think that was my biggest narrative challenge in my life. Yeah, that was huge. In terms of like actresses having tantrums, is that what you meant?
Oh, no, I meant that, but if you want to tell us a tantrum, then that'd be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, my worst experience was with Marissa Tomei. So I'm just saying, in case she ever comes by. Yeah.
No, I work with her, so.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was my biggest challenge, not the other stuff.
Is that because she had her own opinion about what she needs to wear?
Marissa Tomei, I don't know what her problem was, but she wore it in the end.
Thank you.
There's no point in actors being unhappy. You see, that's the thing, is that actors have to deliver the performance. I mean, the costume designer really gives the clothes to the actor gives the performance to the director, and the director tells the story. So actors have to feel comfortable. Yeah.
In terms of costuming for science fiction, do you have any advice on that? Because I've seen some movies where it's like the costumes are really bizarre. Like
I know.
They fit in with the period, but they stick out.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
No, that's a good thing.
I know. Do you know I judge the masquerade at Comic-Con every year? So I would say, where's the lady who is doing the medieval family show? I say, just don't make them stupid. Yeah, just be careful. If you get a stupid feeling that they're really stupid. I just think, I just went down to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. And I love going down to they always have costumes from the movies from the previous year. And I think the show closed this past weekend. It opens in January. And I recommend that to you, by the way.
Where is it?
At the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, which is on the corner of 9th. It's on 9th Street downtown.
Okay.
Anyway, it's closed now.
Yeah.
But there were all these sci-fi costumes. And I just think, really, really, and in the future, they're going to be wearing so many pockets and buttons. I mean, I couldn't believe the number of the shit that was on those costumes. So, aren't we going to simplify? Look at the Apple Watch. Aren't we going to eventually not even have a watch and everything's just going to come alive? I just think, what's with all the themes, So, yeah, I think just stay away from stupid and you'll be okay. George Lucas had no money and made a movie called THX 1138. Yes. Have you seen it?
No, but I've been meaning to.
Okay. He couldn't figure out, low-budget movie, couldn't figure out what the hairstyle should be in the future. So he shaved everyone's head. It's simple. He shot it all in an underground garage. See it. It's a very good, I mean, it really puts the last trilogy to shame, right? Just see it, and you'll see how be reductive, be clean, be elegant. Don't use trim, okay? All right, next. Who's next?
Hi.
Yeah.
I heard a story that during the making of Gangs of New York, Daniel Day-Lewis refused to wear his costume jackets with modern material lining.
Oh, might have been.
Because, yeah, he wanted to make it more authentic, I guess. And I was wondering if, and as a result, he became very sick because it was cold and all of that. And I was wondering if you've worked with anybody who was that obsessed with authenticity.
You know, it's a funny thing because I don't believe, I touched on this before, I don't believe in the authentic. I don't think, and I'm really thinking about this now, like in a kind of a major way, because I think we make movies for the audience, not for ourselves. You know, we make entertainment. And I don't think any movie is authentic. They don't smell bad. They shower. They have good teeth. I mean, a couple of them, we can do makeup and have bad teeth, but they still have...
women sleep with lipstick?
They sleep with lipstick. Everybody has orthodontia. I mean, it's unlikely that you're going to see something, especially in your leads, not so much the extras, but those, if they're going to kiss, they're going to have good teeth, right? So I don't think this authentic thing is real. Oh, I didn't mean to say it that way. What I mean to say is we make movies for the audience, and I don't know the gossip from Gangs of New York, and I don't have experiences like that. My actors, in my career, the actors have to be able to move. So I've done a lot of dance numbers. Are they comfortable? Can dancers dance and do their thing? But I haven't had any. No, maybe I anticipate that and go through that with the actor in the fitting room. And I would be doubtful about that story because Sandy worked so closely with Daniel Day-Lewis to create those clothes. But I'll ask her. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
So you kind of touched on this subject, but so what if a star refuses to wear what you have picked out to be the best costume for their character? Do you just force them to wear it, or do you change it?
No. You don't force anybody to do anything. No. You hope that the director is talking to the actor. Ultimately, it's the director's job. It's the director's movie, right? Maybe not at Marvel, but it's the director's movie. And no, it's the director has to talk to the actor. It's not the costume designer's job. It's the director's choice. And the actor comes in. The actor's very vulnerable. Who is it? Oh, that's not how I saw it at all. I don't see it at all. And you have to listen if the actor is saying, "I would never wear." Is that you who would never wear it, or is it the character who would never wear it? I mean, Helen Mirren famously said when she was doing The Queen, she said, "I have to become the woman who would want to wear those shoes." Right? The clothes were so ugly, right? So, and Helen Mirren is not interested in doing that in real life, right? So, if you have problems with an actor in a fitting room, the director has to get into the fitting room. Or you get out of the fitting room and the director and the actress really have to talk it out, or the actor have to talk it out. It's the costume designers can help by showing different things and providing alternatives, but no, there's no point in having an unhappy actor. It's terrible. No, that's the people are the heart of the story. They have to do their job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you. I really enjoyed the keynote, especially the part now. I have a greater understanding as to how costume helps to create and build that character.
I wanted to make sure that you left understanding that these costumes have the same weight and are just as important or even more important than those clothes you saw before. So these are also great performances, and these are also costumes. Each had a costume designer, and each followed exactly the same methodology to the screen as those other big, fancy costumes.
My question is around budgeting.
Okay.
If, to help create and really mirror the director's vision, how much flexibility is there in terms of costume, or is it like a hardcore number that you have to stay within when you're doing the design?
Well, all films, including the costume department, expands or shrinks to meet the needs of the screenplay. I have been on movies where we thought we would only have 10 extras, and the director gets to the location and says, oh no, I need 100 extras. Now, if those extras, if it's a period film, that comes to the costume department. That means we have to dress and then do hair and makeup on 100 more people or 90 more people. So yeah, then what do? I mean, we have what we need, which is what we don't have in today's filmmaking paradigm, is time. We need time. We need pre-production time. And what's not available is pre-production time. And pre-production time costs, but somebody's going to have to figure out whether we should be making everything, at double golden time at the end. Doing everything on, everything that should have been done in 8 weeks in 3 weeks. With all the extra time and double time, or whether we should have this correct amount of time before to prepare. So it's not really the money for the costumes themselves, it's the labor to spend the time to do it the right way. So that's what I would say. We really need pre-production time. Does that answer your question?
It does, because I understand in terms of the breakdown, the prep, the shoot, and also, if you're gonna, if there's a need for wraps, so definitely understanding how and where it would fit in terms of.
You see, what happens is production designers are always hired early because locations have to be locked, right?
Yes.
And so they have a good amount of time to do their work, and yet nobody wants to hire costume designers before deals are set with the actors, because everybody thinks, well, what are they going to do? There are no bodies. We don't know who's cast, right? But we have to do research, and we have to begin to think about the design of the show. And there's plenty we can do so that when we're cast, we can go and we can do it. But instead, they hire us very, very late into production, and makes nobody happy.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
I don't know how much involved you were with the costume exhibition at the Hollywood. It was very similar to it, or a lot of things came out of it.
I'm the curator.
Oh, you were the curator?
Yes.
Of course. I was like, yes, this is so. I love that exhibition.
It was all built from my PowerPoint.
Yes, that's what I noticed. That's kind of what I wanted to know. Anyway, I love that exhibition. I can add 2 questions, but you already answered one. Is how much do you actually talk with the actors? Because not only do you talk to the director, but in terms of the character, how much of the actors give you, I guess?
Well, actors come in so late. Very often, we have a rack of clothes for them to try on. So we have this conversation. We call, the actor is on a distant location. The actor is somewhere else. And we get all the sizes. And then we start pulling existing things for the actor. Sometimes if things are created from scratch, there's actually a sketch. And there are lots of illustrators who work with costume designers and create drawings. And that drawing can go to the actor. But we have Costume designers have these very intense conversations with the director. Everybody has a conversation with the director, right? And we have a budget, and we talk to the producer, and we talk to the UPM, and we're all working together, right? So by the time the actor comes to the fitting room, the actor has had lots of conversations with the director about so that there's no surprise. There shouldn't be a surprise when that actor enters the fitting room. And we just try, we play. There should not be pressure. That's again going back to time. That, that actor's gonna work first thing in the morning and we have to pick something. Believe me, that exists on every television show shot in Hollywood. Pick something because it's working tomorrow. But it should be a process. And we should be able to have a first, a second, and even a third fitting if we need it.
Perfect. One last question. I don't
Yes.
if you could give me a suggestion. I'm doing my thesis right now, and there's a piece of clothing that plays a lot of importance into the plot.
Yes.
And it has to be very distinctive. Right now, in the screenplay, I can only describe it as a blue blazer. But I've had this conversation with my teachers and with the actor that I already casted for it, of how can we make it so distinctive without it being goofy. Because I love when you started talking about Michael Jackson's jacket, because that's kind of like what I'm striving for. Kind of like make it. I know probably I won't make it super iconic, but I want it to be something that stands out on its own. But I don't know how to go at it without it turning into something super simple or super goofy.
Well, I think you need to do research. I think you need to really Google pictures. There's a wonderful, what's it called? It's called, I know, wait a minute. There's a fantastic website called The Sartorialist. Go to The Sartorialist and look. Okay, that's a good tip.
Thank you.
Sartorialist, yeah. After you watch wrestling versus isn't wrestling. After you watch my son's movie, yes, because he's my son. Yeah.
Hi. I know costume designing is a pre-production,
Yes.
but what I need to know is like what kind of information does a costume designer expects from the director?
In one of the first classes I taught, I think it was before that director told me that his sister was going to shop or his girlfriend was going to shop. But in one of the first classes I taught, I had a director come down to the podium and say, Professor Landis, I can't take your class. I don't know how to sew. And I said to him, do you know how to read? I said, good, because we are going to be doing script analysis in this class. We will not be sewing. I'm not so good at sewing either. I'm good with a glue gun, right? Glue gun, good, right? So here's the whole secret, is that it's about the conversation, right? And don't think about the clothes. The clothes are the last part of it. Think about who those people are. They will speak to you. If you really know and you're really doing research and you really have the cross street and you really know the number of where they grew up, you can look at that building, you can park yourself at the park bench right outside that building, and that's research too. Know the people in your movie, and the people will come to life themselves. And it's all about the conversation that you're having. You're having that conversation with your cinematographer. You're having it with your production designer. And you're going to have it with your costume designer about the people who are going to be in the center of your frame. What is more important than that? They're going to be delivering all those lines that are so important to you. It's true that movies are made in the editing room, right? It is true that movies are made in the editing room. It's just montage. But first you have to get the performance. So as far as I'm concerned, it's about the conversation and then about the research. And research can be anything, but make sure that it's done. You're not guessing, right? It's not generic. You're not working off tired archetypes, which are so boring. Maybe you do. The reason they look like that in soap opera is because it's soap opera. It's archetypes. If you want to break ground, right, and make it real, then you have to do the work. That's my answer.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. He just asked the question I wanted to ask, so I'm going to ask another one.
Okay.
An opinion on
this
a
is
movie.
This is the last one, I guess.
An opinion on a movie that I think is close to your heart, and it's Wrestling Isn't Wrestling.
Yes.
Now, what about a custom design in that? Because
I loved it. He didn't ask me.
Well, you just said a couple of times that design is reduction.
Yes, design is reduction.
And this is a good example, we can say. In that movie, isn't that a good example of using the wrestlers, all the reenactment?
Yes, it absolutely is. Okay. Because all those women are playing all those men's roles.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Right. So the message to your son, that's genius. That's an incredible movie.
Yeah. Did you see it?
I saw it. I opened the eyes. Shared critical thinking about WWE. It's real pure entertainment. It's scripted. They risk more than just their health and and I like the way he introduced all this concept with the same passion of the athletes at the WWE. So genius.
Thank you.
So
I love ending with a testimonial to my boy. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right, thank you everybody.
Thank you.